Coming up on 5 Minute News. Derek Chauvin sentenced to 22.5 years for murder of George Floyd. Biden releases federal funds after 12-story Miami building collapse. And EU greenlights major funding plan for refugees in Turkey. It's Saturday, June 26. I'm Anthony Davis. Former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin was sentenced to 22.5 years in prison for the murder of George Floyd, whose dying gasps under Chauvin's knee led to the biggest outcry against racial injustice in the U.S. in generations. The punishment, which fell short of the 30 years prosecutors had requested, came after Chauvin broke his more than year-long silence in court to offer condolences to the Floyd family. He also said more information will be coming out, and he hopes the family will eventually have some peace of mind. With good behavior, 45-year-old Chauvin could get out on parole after serving 2/3 of his sentence, or about 15 years. Outside the courthouse, a crowd of about 50 people clasped hands or placed them on each other's shoulders. The reaction was subdued as people debated whether the sentence was long enough. Some cursed in disgust. In imposing the punishment, Judge Peter Cahill went beyond the 12.5-year sentence prescribed under state guidelines, citing your abuse of a position of trust and authority and also the particular cruelty shown to Floyd. Floyd family attorney Ben Crump said the family had got some measure of accountability, but is hoping Chauvin gets the maximum at his upcoming federal civil rights trial. Crump said this was the longest sentence a police officer had ever received in Minnesota. Real justice would simply be that George Floyd would be here with his family, Crump said. We have to remember, real justice in America will be black men and black women and people of color who will not have to fear being killed by the police just because the color of their skin. With nearly 160 people unaccounted for and at least 4 dead after a seaside condominium tower collapsed into a smouldering heap of twisted metal and concrete, rescuers used both heavy equipment and their own hands to comb through the wreckage on Friday in an increasingly desperate search for survivors. As scores of firefighters in Surfside, just north of Miami, toiled to locate and reach anyone still alive in the remains of the 12-story Champlain Towers South, hopes rested on how quickly crews using dogs and microphones could complete their grim yet delicate task. Surfside Mayor Charles Burkett said crews were doing everything possible to save as many people as they could. We do not have a resource problem, we have a luck problem, he said. The White House said President Joe Biden, who spoke with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis after the collapse, was receiving updates from Homeland Security. Officials said they still don't know exactly how many residents or visitors were in the building when it fell, but they were trying to locate 159 people who were considered unaccounted for and may or may not have been there. Flowers left in tribute decorated a fence near the tower, and people awaiting news about the search watched from a distance, hands clasped and hugging. 3 more bodies were removed overnight, and Miami-Dade Police Director Freddie Ramirez said authorities were working with the medical examiner's office to identify the victims. 11 injuries were reported, with 4 people treated at hospitals. Mayor Daniela Levine Carver said rescuers were at extreme risk going through the rubble. European Union leaders greenlighted plans on Friday to give Turkey another €3 billion over the next few years to provide fresh assistance to Syrian refugees on its territory and to help the country boost border controls. Turkey reacted coolly to the plan, saying it's a way for Europeans to ensure the EU's own peace and security. Well over 1 million migrants entered the EU in 2015, many of them fleeing conflict in Syria and Iraq. The arrivals through Turkey overwhelmed facilities in the Greek islands and sparked one of the EU's biggest ever political crises. To persuade Turkey to stop people leaving its territory, the 27-nation bloc offered the country €6 billion for Syrian refugees and the prospect of fast-track EU membership talks and visa-free travel in Europe for its citizens. Arrivals quickly dropped to a relative trickle, and the EU is keen to update the arrangement. Membership talks are at a standstill, and Turkey has still not fulfilled several criteria to secure visa-free travel. But the European Commission has handed over most of the funds and will pay the rest as contracts are completed. Separately, it is providing a further €500 million for refugees there this year. Turkey is estimated to now host around 3.7 million refugees from the conflict in Syria. Lebanon and Jordan are also sheltering hundreds of thousands each. It's the first time that such EU funding has been earmarked for migration management and border controls. The earlier funds were spent directly on shelter and education projects for Syrian refugees in Turkey. None of that money went directly to the Turkish government. You can subscribe to 5 Minute News on YouTube with your preferred podcast app. Ask your smart speaker or enable 5 Minute News as your Amazon Alexa flash briefing skill. Subscribe, rate and review online at 5minute.news. 5 Minute News is an Evergreen Podcast covering politics, inequality, health and climate, delivering independent, unbiased and essential world news. Daily.